Baldur's Gate solo run versus a party. Two options in the game. That's what we're going to explore and look at some of those options and kind of build that Tactica checklist. Now, Baldur's Gate, playing through 1, 2, and 3, does a very good job, aspires, and tries to replicate the feeling of Dungeons & Dragons, where you are playing in part of a party. You're playing with a group. So the game, by default, for the experience, wants to play with a party. And I say experience because really there's two aspects to Baldur's Gate. And I have to say, no spoilers. And much like the other Baldur's Gate Tactica videos I'm pushing up to my channel here with the playlist, they build on this idea that, on the one hand, being digital, it's a combat game. It's a tactical combat game. You're getting in there and you're fighting some classical D&D monsters and various parties and NPCs and those aspects. But on the other side, it is very much a role-playing, story-based game. Not just with the story, but the interactions and the side stories and the side quests of your other party members. So by default, the game is set up where you want to play with a party, but you don't have to. Now, my first recommendation, Baldur's Gate, your first playthrough, absolutely play with a party, because your first playthrough is not only the story, but this discovery of the world. And there are numerous NPCs, some very easy to find, some not so easy to find, some direct, some not so direct, but literally going up and talking to everybody, because you don't know right away who's an NPC or not, who can join your party or not. That discovery process, engaging with them, seeing different character classes, seeing how they interact, getting to play them as an NPC, controlling them, a lot of fun. Tactically, there's also a lot of gear, no spoilers, in the game. Whatever you're playing with a party means you're going to be able to have a use for all of that, all of those magic items and all of that gear. You're going to be able to spread it out and make use and get to experience it and have fun with it and play with it. So those first couple of playthroughs, definitely the first playthrough, but those first couple of playthroughs, yes, absolutely with a party. But then as you learn the base story, as you learn the game, as you want to explore your different primary character class, you could drop to a smaller party. Sometimes it's a little bit easier to manage. So the advantage of a smaller party, just management. The game is streamlined. Now, it was PC-based. It is still PC-based. But as soon as you go to a tablet or a phone, and I have to say, just based on ease of convenience, I'm playing Baldur's Gate on my large screen iPhone. It's doable, but controlling a party, it's much easier to play solo or play with a smaller group. Remember, it doesn't have to necessarily be all or nothing. So by playing solo or a smaller group, it's easier to control. Tactically, it's balanced out because I'm not going to be able to use every single item that I discover, but I'm going to sell those items fast. I'm going to get so much gold so fast. And we see this with, not just with Baldur's Gate, but with all role-playing games. The build of gold or credit resources, whatever it's going to be, money, in the beginning of the game, you're poor. You get more money. By the end of the game, you've got so much gold, you can buy absolutely everything, where you're like, I don't need it now. I've got all these great items. I needed that gold in the beginning. By playing solo and selling the magic items that are not for your character class or that you're not going to use, by the end of the beginning, beginning game, mid game, end game, by the end of the beginning part of the game, you're going to have enough gold to buy some powerful items. That is going to not only make the game easier, but you're going to be able to use those clickies and powers much earlier and have more fun. Your character's going to level faster. Remember, in D&D, the experience is split across the party, which, okay, this isn't really a spoiler, but sometimes you want to do some base leveling with a small party or just with yourself, if possible. I mean, you don't have to, but do that. So this way, when you find NPCs and they join you, they auto level up. I mean, that's kind of a shortcut if you want a mid path, but you get more experience as a solo character, and it's not split across the different NPCs or how many you have in the party. You're going to level faster. That's going to give you resources that are faster, and it's going to, of course, you're going to hit a level cap at some point, but the powers that your character develops, you're going to be able to utilize those sooner and have a lot more fun. So the story isn't accelerated, but your place and ability in the story is playing solo. And you get to experience from that perspective. So it balances out. My opinion, and I'm not going to give any spoilers, BG1, first couple of times, absolutely play with the party. Play with the different NPCs. Even when you have the party you like, experiment with some different NPCs. But then you can drop solo. When you kind of know the game, you want to explore things, you want to have some fun, different character builds. I tend to go solo at that point. BG2, they've improved the party experience. With BG2, or I should say the third chapter, second being Siege, but sticking to the naming convention, BG2, there are definitive party interactions. There are romances, there are rivalries, there's conversation back and forth based on alignment. You want the other characters in your party. You want those NPCs in your party, just not only with the discovery, but it's a lot of fun to watch and see how things play out. There's a lot more diversification in magic items. You want to be able to use those. So BG2, even though I've been there, done that, and still play it, I tend to go with a party. Siege is hit or miss. Without any spoilers, there are parts of Siege that have been written to play with a party. You need that extra muscle. You do, because it's kind of an interesting level part. BG1, you go through a variety of levels. BG2, a variety of levels. Siege, you're kind of in the middle. You're kind of this confined because they had to slot that story in between 1 and 2, and they did a fantastic job. Absolutely. I'm thrilled that we have it, that it's out here in the wild. But to balance that with the encounters, some of Siege's encounters, you really need a party. They're tough. They are tough even with mad skills to solo. But at other times, parts of the story, the game, the chapters, you're like, I could do this solo. It almost wants to solo. It's almost easier soloing. So it's an interesting balance between that. But again, no right or wrong way to play. But as you plug into the BG community and as you explore, there is this idea, do I go full party? Do I go solo? Do I go hybrid? And there are advantages and disadvantages both to the tactica, but also the experience in playing them.